The stage is set at Knoxville for the greatest special event of the DOB calendar. The largest subscribed to Knoxville Nationals in the series history. It's the 7th annual 360 Knoxville Nationals here on Maconi Entertainment. I'm Howie Burrows, and I'm joined by Ron Malms to bring you 4 races worth of beauty on this high-action, high-intensity track. We'll be starting with the D main and moving all the way to the A. 4 drivers have just qualified out of the E earlier today, and there's plenty to decide before we make it up to the top. Ron, you know a little bit more about the dirt than me. You should know how scary and intimidating this track is.
Oh, Knoxville is an intimidating ride in the world of dirt oval racing, of course known for the Knoxville Nationals every single year. The NASCAR Truck Series made their appearances here over the years, but Knoxville, it is a fun, a fast, and an intimidating track with those high Armco barriers that are hungry for your car if you ever make a small little mistake. Here in these 360 sprint cars, they may not be the big bad 410s, but these 360 cars can still be rather quick, and we've got a fantastic night of racing action to look forward to here on Maconi Entertainment, which brings us right into the format heading into tonight's action.
Many of you at home will know how this works, but if you don't, it all counts down to our final race of the day, the A main. 4 drivers from each race will qualify up to the next. Drivers will be preceded based upon their week's heats, but you can make it all the way from the bottom, all the way to the top if you keep finishing. Sometimes it's a driver all the way that starts up there, and sometimes it's one that has a Cinderella story from the bottom. Anything can happen. Drivers are wearing in the track right now, and we only have a few minutes to go until drivers hit the track for our D main. Races will increase in length as the night goes on. Top 4 intending to advance from each round, or a few more in reserves in case there are drops. 10 laps and 12 laps and 18 before the glorious 30 to finish the day.
Yeah, come time for that 30-lap long race, the pressure and the stakes are going to be super, super high. This is one of the crown jewel events here in the DOB world, so these competitors looking to have a good night here of racing action. If they're in one of these lower heats, if they're in the bottom of the alphabet soup, they want to break their way up to the top and try and master the challenge of this track, because we're seeing these racers rip it on the high side, trying to break this track in, get a little bit of rubber down, and try and have some fun here tonight. It's going to be a tough one for these racers to be sure, but I have a feeling these races we have coming up, they're going to be fast, they're going to be quick, they're going to be intense and exciting, even from our perspective in the broadcast booth. But for these racers, it may be a bit on the terrifying end, but I still think this is going to be super fun tonight here, Howie.
You didn't see how that element got moved. First shouting out this last-minute broadcast was brought to you by Aces Up Sim Sports, as well as the long-standing series sponsor of Dazine Metal Art, who we'll be able to talk about more in the downtime. Just a few minutes to go. Drivers still wearing in the track from its completely fresh state. They've been deciding how they want today's track to run, through how they run through the warm-up. Knoxville known for its large cushion on the edge, but I'm seeing some slicking already up on the inside. Just about 15 to 20 minutes of running. 3 slots in the sea left open for drivers that haven't shown up yet. We anticipate, typically, the top 7 making it this time around. And, well, warm-up is a great time for some to have a great time for the track. That's Connor Murphy, one of our higher heat competitors right now. Still just waiting down the announcement of the start. There's another hit race from these guys coming up later down the week, as well as we have the 410s, the Knoxville Classics hitting the track. No one's ever done the double in DOB history, but one driver who very, very much thinks he could be capable of it is Gunnar Harris. Michael Sheridan was our 2021 winner, who is around. Gunnar Harris thinks he could make the sweep. You'll be hearing some of these drivers further down, but we enter with the D, some of the lower ranked drivers from the heat racing throughout the last week of running, but still plenty of opportunities and to climb up to the top as we are just finishing off.
Yeah, just getting to the end of this warm-up session and switching our attention into the race that lies ahead, Howie. It's going to be 10 laps of drama, 10 laps of action. These racers going to be running at the ragged edge of control lap after lap. Knoxville, one of the premier dirt racing venues in the entirety of the country. It is part of an absolutely fantastic Midwest dirt racing scene there in Knoxville, Iowa. I haven't gotten the opportunity to make the pilgrimage out here, even though I've been to Iowa many, many times. I was a bit farther north, around the I-80 area was where I has always been through Iowa. But yeah, this is an absolutely fantastic motorsports facility, and I'm still under the impression that I think we're going to have a great race here tonight. We're just waiting to click off to that race session and get the first race of the evening up, rolling, and ready to rock.
These cars just a little less intimidating than the 410s. Not usually the ones that hit up the Nationals, but to pull off a win in these still takes immense bravery and immense guts. This is going to be a very, very dramatic set of races on one of the largest tracks in the dirt racing calendar, of course, known for its long straight and very, very wide cushion. Receive final confirmation for the admins that due to dropouts in the C main, it will be the top 6 that make it. Drivers starting to grid right now. We have an order for you in terms of numbers. If I just try and show this is going to go horrifically wrong because there's a lot of drivers in the session, but look out for the order of the 09, the 91, the 1, the 291, the 391, the 303, the 13, 002, the 117, the 183, the 18, the 004, 225, 319, 584, 34, 11, 15, and 101. That's a whole lot of numbers to tell you. That's a whole lot of numbers due to start this first round session advancing. As I speak, we're going to be racing into the night as it goes on, and any driver could make it from the bottom all the way to the top. We've already had an E main run just before we went live today. And the drivers just getting their last race admin setup before we're ready to go. The G main drivers hitting the grid. There's been a lot of running on the track. I saw some slicking up in the corners already, and the legendary Knoxville cushion starting to build in time. We're now starting to hit the grid for our first main of the day.
Yeah, and getting it up and rolling and ready to rock. We'll say we went through the numbers. We'll tell you about who the drivers are. It's going to be Brody Duscher starting this race up at the front. Alongside him will be the 91 machine. I'm trying to negotiate our live timing software to bring in the name of the number 91 car. It's Ernie Williams Jr. in the 091 machine, as it's marked off on our live timing software. So that will be your front row for this race that lies ahead. For those racers a little bit farther in the back, it's not exactly ideal, doubly so considering how short of a race this is, but I feel like if there's any spot to be, that would be on the less than ideal end. Probably got to be that mid-pack, Howie. I mean, this track, as you said, it is a formidable one in the dirt racing world, and as soon as we get this race up and rolling, that's going to be where stuff hits the fan, so to speak. That's not going to be a good spot to be at. So if you're up at the front, you're probably feeling good. If you're up at the back, you're going to be feeling a bit less stressed. If you're in the mid-pack of this field, I'm not sure how your blood pressure's looking heading into this race.
Our E-main went cautionless. There weren't many cars in it, but it ran clean 10 laps all the way to the end. Sometimes they can go like that, but this is a very, very, very busy grid. Drivers are lining up. When the pace car comes in, that will not be the start of the race. That will be their final chance to line up in position. So be patient with us just as much as these drivers have to be patient with each other out here in order to line up their order in this session format. Well, I've got to show that green flag in laps to go until it's just about ready. Let me tell you that. I'm hearing a lot of numbers in my ear, just trying to dissect quite the order these drivers are going to run with. But you'll also be seeing, hopefully on the tower, that update as drivers make their way across the line, and it will be ready to go for the race start. 10 laps in this run. You really don't get much time to make it count this early on. Later races are going to be a whole lot longer, but if you're starting in the back here, like if you made it from the E-main, you're in trouble.
And, you know, I kind of like this sort of format, at least in terms of calling races like this, as we see that pace car has now come down pit lane, so we'll be coming to the green next time by. These quick little races, very highly paced. I like it based off my own racing background. I grew up racing karts with the Sports Car Club of America on the autocross side of things here in the States, so you're putting in a 35-second run, and that's it. That is all you have to offer. That's kind of what these races feel like. You take that green flag, you run a couple laps, then you grab that checkered flag. If you make it, you make it. If not, your nights and your event is over. So really quickly paced, but let's get this first race of the evening underway, Howie.
The 9 and that 91 starting on the front row to start this race. And already running very, very high. Leader gets to dictate the start. I think they're locked in. I think they are just about ready to go. I'm getting some unreliable data back from iRacing at the moment, so I'm not quite able to get the full lineup as to what's gone on. There, one more pace lap around the track. One
so
to
my
go
hype
at
was
the
for
line.
nothing. I think my hype there a couple of moments ago was for nothing. Hopefully, this time, I think they're a little bit disorganized last. Let's see if we can grab the green.
Most of them have gotten their stuff in order, let me tell you that. Restarts will be single file, but the double file restart, of course, takes a whole lot of organization. Still doing calls in the back of the field. I'm getting timing live as soon as I can. That's the iRacing green. Almost tricked me the first time around, let me tell you that. Now, most of this field is lined up and ready, and even better, we do have a timing set up. So that is your lineup for the first race. Brody Duscher and Kyle Sargent on the front row. Kenny Hoffman, Ryan Smith behind. Corey Denson and Cody Downward in P5 and P6. We have 20 on the grid for this first heat. And they're coming around any moment now. Top 6 advance from round 1. And we are green for good here. And there's a good launch from the 09 of Duscher there. Most running up high early on in the race. A few stragglers down on the low line. But as it stands, pretty clean separation. And that leader wants to run.
Yeah, he's trying to run away with it. Meanwhile, farther behind is absolute pandemonium. These racers trying to get the grip, trying to figure out where the grip is around this racetrack and make up those moves as we get farther and farther along into this quick-paced. Not a lot of time left to go in this race as well either. The top 6 spots going to be the key ones. A wreck farther behind, upside down, some missing wings. That's the 11 car involved in that moment. Saying the fifth lap of the race is Cody Duscher as the yellow flag going to come at that will neutralize this race and give these racers the opportunity to catch their breath after a very hectic and very dramatic start, especially so in the mid-pack where they were absolutely cutting shapes, and it felt like we were seeing the scene of a parking lot of a Target on Black Friday with a half-price deal on flat-screen TVs.
That involved 3 drivers on the back. Joseph Groom, Josh Killenwith Jr. and Braden Turtle. Let's get the replay up real quick in order to try and dissect what may have happened here. Caution laps do not count as ever in the Knoxville race. Here's the view from Josh. To the Mosrich Jr. Almost 3 wide entering the turn. A little bit of a nudge, and that's going to lead to a stack up and a collection of 1 or 2 more on the outside.
Yeah, and up into the berm as well there on the inside of turn number 3 and 4. I'm pretty sure that's exactly the same part of the racetrack where Jessica Friesen managed to flip her NASCAR truck there in a clip that they did not catch on the Fox broadcast that year. But that inside can be deadly. I think the deadliest inside of a dirt oval track I would probably say is the Chili Bowl. I've seen many a racer take flight off of that. But this one here at Knoxville, not much better, as I think we will potentially be getting this race back up and rolling here in the not too far off future. These racers using this opportunity to try and collect their breath, because it was a very, very hectic start. Brody Duscher still in your race lead, the one of Kenny Hoffman slotted in P2, currently waiting for some drivers who are down pit lane to get cycled a little bit farther in the back. But still the usual suspects up at the front of this field. They start off well. They're looking to hold on to those spots. With those racers up at the front, you don't have to worry about offense at all, which is a great thing here at Knoxville. You just have to worry about the defense. And as much as the defensive game may be the beneficial one, still not a bed of roses either.
It's Brody Duscher to lead the second start. Caution laps not counting, has allowed some drivers to hit back the grid. Cage Donahue has done so, but Brody launches the field again. Tightly packed, but he gets a good run. Hugging the wall. That's Billy Rowley taking a little bit of contact. Keeps the car together. Further back, Taylor Wineland and Maconi Downard are going to be fighting for that transfer position. And so much against the wall until we head quite a bit further back to around 12 or 13. Knows the first driver's trying to look just a little bit lower, but when you're back, desperation probably does creep in.
Oh, desperation certainly creeping in for some racers who are just trying to find any way in the book to break into that top 6 and make their way a little bit farther along in this event. For the front few racers, that's not a problem, as we're back under yellow.
We'll identify the source of this one on the track. It looks like it might be Tony Dominguez. He may have been the one to set off that. So let's try and catch on board. Try and catch the replay from the wide out view. Another free wide entering the turn. Little bit of contact on the car on the edge, but it's Greg Robinson that goes into Tony. And Greg is the one sent over.
Yeah, that was a massive sledgehammer hit into that outside wall. Certainly going to take these racers out of contention, even after the toes and all that stuff. Doesn't matter what sort of damage you may have on these race cars. That'll essentially be a game ender as we take a look at Tony Dominguez and his perspective in this number 18 car. You can see that drama going on right around him. Contact being made, and that car taking a huge hit into the outside wall. Dominguez just getting absolutely hip checked there out of the blue. Not really much you could have done to prepare in a situation like that. As we take a look from the outboard perspective, that was a calm before the storm as they headed their way off through turns number 3 and 4. Down that start-finish stretch into 1 and 2. They're going to go. Contact being made, and bang, a huge hit into the wall upside down. Not the first driver we've seen flip so far tonight, and certainly not going to be the last either. That's just a part of Dirt Oval.
Everybody wants the wall, but how much of the wall do these drivers want? That might have been washing up just a little bit too high on the low grip surface. Quite a heavy slick line already developing on the middle of the track. There was quite a lot of pre-race run-up that happened, and you can very much see the very clear difference before we even have a massive cushion built up. Done a few more laps to green around here. I understand now that when caution laps don't count, showing that tower leads to disaster when drivers enter the pits. Joseph Groom sitting in the pits. We're 1 to green. Taylor, gotta make sure I get this one right because they're all over. It's Kenny Hoffman up near the front behind Brody Duscher, who's led 2 laps perfectly so far, led 2 restarts pretty excellently. 5 green flag laps to go. He seems to be able to get the good runaway, but it's been pretty single file running down this top 6. Really, we might have to start seeing the haymakers come out. Taylor Wineland and Coley Downard looking to try and make those transfers happen. We're ready to go green.
Back up to green flag racing. These drivers gassing it and heading it down into turn number 1. Look at those drivers running up against the wall. That was one driver. I think that was a 177 of Clayton Kincard as a yellow back out again. Spinning, hang down to turn number 1. Some racers a little bit farther in the back running into some difficulties. Just going to note that the racers ripping it on the high side, running against the wall. Looked like there was a diesel-powered pogo stick underneath their cars. A 177 was at the epicenter of all that drama. I think scraped the wall and causing a big stack up through 1 and 2. That'll neutralize this field yet again. Again, cautions do not count on the Dirt Oval side of things, so we will still have a decent amount of laps left to go. And for those racers up the front, especially the ones that were just barely in those transfer spots to go into the C main later on here tonight, that is going to be about as unnerving of a feeling having restart after restart after restart after restart where drama like this can take place. Doesn't matter who you are.
Turned around with a stack up right on the bottom, and that's going to take 3 drivers down and out. Clayton Kincard looks like he was able to get that car going again, but he got an end of line penalty. Joseph Broom, still last driver to pit stop on lap 7. So still under yellow, we've gone from a very, very, very green flag E-main to a very, very, very segmented D-Main, we've only really gotten 1 or 2 laps at a time under green every time. Only going to be less than a minute of green flag racing when we're going, but Brody Duscher still leading the charge. Drivers in peril here. Terra Wineland and Cody Donard haven't had the time to make their moves yet. Billy Rowley holding them back on this transfer place. It's going to be a top 6 from this race, typically the top 4. It has changed due to availability of drivers registered in time for the race. Drivers are pre-registered for most of the slots earlier this week through their heat races, and it's a game of making it up from the bottom to the top through the alphabet soup. Brody Duscher leads the restart again. I think his win is pretty secure. The final 6 places on the grid, of course, secured by these qualifying races. He puts it on the loud pedal, and we're hoping to get racing again.
Gassing it up, getting it up and rolling again here one more time, potentially here at Knoxville for this D-Main, and still Duscher leading over Kenny Hoffman in P2. Ryan Smith, Kyle Sargent riding at your top 4. That's big wall contact there, scraping up against the wall, huge contact being made, and that is not going to work at all. Hard into the wall. That's going to be Billy Rowley heading the outside, and now bring this yellow ad yet again. That was himself and the 29 car getting involved in big taps as they came through 3 and 4, and it just did not work well at all. I'm not sure who that was in the 91 machine. I think that may have been Ryan Smith, who had a wild ride coming out of it, and ever since then it just fell apart.
That contact in the wall really set this quite far back, and I'm not really sure that was too much Billy Rowley could have done about it. All over the wall, hard contact, and that's the wing off. I'm pretty sure this was Ryan Smith, so I want to see if I can catch the shot of him making it into that wall on the way out. Too much of the cushion, a very small cushion that hasn't really built, and that's going to cause the stack up.
Small little taps, small little stack up. That's the thing with sprint car racing. It is such a momentum game. If you have one racer lose out on some momentum, it's going to create a huge stack up. You're going to lose any sort of time that you've got, and you really got to be in a groove when it comes to a race car like this. If you're in that groove, you're going to be smell like a bed of roses, feeling like $1,000,000. If you get out of that groove, though, you're going to be smelling like less so like a bed of roses and more so like a bucket of horse manure. So frankly, these racers will have to worry about that all night long, whether it be this race, whether it be the C main coming up, the B main after that, or the A main, the feature coming up later on this evening here on Maconi Entertainment. Got to keep that momentum rolling on your race car. Keep momentum on your side as well behind the wheel. It's good for these cars. It's good for this style of racing. And it's also good for the racer. It's good for the brain of a racer to always be in the groove. Once you get thrown off your game a little bit, that's when things may go a little bit awry. But it's going to be 3 laps left to go here, Howie, in this D-Main. Been a rather hectic one up to this point. These racers looking to have a clean end to it, as I believe we will be getting this race restarted next time by as they stack up big time under yellow. Oh boy.
That's Ken Baum Jr. and Nicholas Lowe. Baum Jr. is the next driver off the transfer now that we've seen a lot of death and destruction around that mark. Brody Duscher starts the line going, and away we go to finish off this race. There might already be some commotion going on in the back. Clayton Kinhart, he's a black flag on restart. Ken Baum Jr. needs to push, and that 4 of Lowe takes the move down on the inside line. Only 2 laps to go around there, and you can see that massive gap here between Lowe holding up the rest of the pack. Cody Donard is in that 303 behind. Ken Baum Jr. is trying to tangle with him. I think Nicholas Lowe has just done enough to hold the rest off. Brody Duscher is dueling with Kenny Hoffman over the line. There's going to be contact. Hoffman's going to take the checkered flag, and Lowe is going to hold on to that P6.
Oh, and that was some close quarter stuff right at the end of this D-Main. Well done, though, from Kenny Hoffman and Brody Duscher. They were throwing haymakers at each other. Don't get us twisted as we take a look at this very dramatic finish coming up there. Contact being made coming out of, that was coming at 3 and 4. Coming to take, actually, no, that was to the checkered. My apologies there. But Hoffman doing everything that he needed to do to take it. And as we take a look at some of the scenes on the outside of this track here on iRacing, Racing. That was a brilliant finish for the first night, for the first race of the night. I think we've got a 1-minute break before we head off into that second heat. We'll go through the D main results and let you know that's Kenny Hoffman winning by about a half a tenth over Brody Dosher in P2. How y'all let you go through these results here.
Kyle Sargent, Taylor Wineland, Corey Denson, and Nicholas Lowe make the rest of the pack to make it through. Glenn Reinhardt just falling behind, ahead of Cody Downard, Ken Baum Jr., and Ryan Smith. Other drivers to compete are Donald Schmalzfeld, Clayton Kinkart, Tommy Dominguez, Billy Rowley, Joseph Broom, Greg Robinson, Brandon Steele, KH Donahue, Braden Tuttle, and John Klimowitz Jr. If I press the next button, that's going to start getting the drivers that are in the next seat, because there's another 20 lined up, and someone too enthusiastic over pit exit, I feel, as we are about to get more lined up and racked and stacked. It's our C main to move into our B.
And now we start to get to the point where more and more pressure begins to get raked up for these racers. It's now, okay, I managed to break my way out of the D. I'm off into the C main now. Will I be able to make it through, climb that ladder all the way up, and make it into that A main? It's so a lot of testing that these racers have to do to try and figure out whether or not they're going to be able to get the job done. As you can see right now, these cars still in pit lane as it stands at the moment. We do have a starting grid for this C main. We'll go through the numbers as we did on the previous main here on tonight's broadcast on Maconi Entertainment. If you are enjoying tonight's action, how about to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the racing action. A lot of viewers tuning into the show as well, so thank you very much for deciding to spend your evening with us here tonight. But I'll let you know that's going to be the number 38 and the 024 starting this race from the front row. The 8 and the 91 will be on row number 2. The 19 and the 9 will be on row 3. The 88 and the 20 will be on row number 4. Right behind them, rounding out our top 10, will be the 29 and the 00. The 010 and the 35 will start right behind, and then the 17 and the 73 will be right behind them on that row. It'll be the 87 and the 23 on the row behind that. 18 and the 118 and the 107 right in front of the row, comprised of the 1 car and the 09. It's going to be the 91 and the 25, along with the 391 and the 004 car, rounding out your starting grid for this race. Many of those racers that you see a little bit farther in the back, the numbers may sound familiar, and that's because they're the ones that were in that D main, got the job done, got a little bit physical at the end of that D main race, Howie. So I got to wonder how it's all going to shake out for the C main coming up.
I think, if anything, we're due to start putting some names on those faces. So let me do the best I possibly can on that. On our front row, the 38 car of I lost it. Oh no, the 38 car of Brett Stickler lines up along the 024 of Zach Weisenfler. On the second row, the 8 car of Scott Thompson lines up next to the 091 of Early Williams Jr. On the third row, it's the 19 car of Jeremy Zarfas next to the 9 car, the 19 and the 9 going very, very well together, of Isaac Bowman. The 88 of Connor Murphy on the row behind lines up next to Jonathan Lohe. In the 20, the 29 of Stephen Stewart is next to the 000 of Yancey Beasley on the next row. Still more drivers to hit the grid. Can you do some of that maths for me while I figure out how to get this done, or should I keep on running down this field for you?
If you'd like to do that, that is a very good thing, because right as I got back from going on a quick trip to the restroom was when you threw that question at me.
Perfect.
So.
It's Zach Young in the 010 next to the 35 of Joshua Pickle. Then the 17 car of Graham Huffman ahead of the 73 of Larry Moody. 87 of AJ Evansick lines up next to the 23 car of Tyler Benning. The 118, gotta get that one, that's Brandon Geiswhite will line up next to the 107 of Jeremy Childers. The 1 car, just the one of Kenny Hoffman, is next to the 09 of Brody Dusher. These are some of your racers from the last race, of course. Brody Dishon and Taylor Wineland, the 391 of Glenn Reinhardt expected, as well as the 004 of Nicholas Flo. That's the manifest and list we've been given going into this race as drivers spend a few laps working out their numbers.
Yeah, they're working at the field, working at their numbers, and working at their cars as well, trying to settle into some sort of groove before we get this C main race up, rolling, and ready to rock. This is going to be a fun one for sure. That D main, definitely a bit on the hectic end, to be sure, how we saw many a racer run into some difficulties of falling infills coming down on quite a few racers during that race. But here in the C main, you got to think about it on multiple different ends of the table. You got to think, okay, maybe a bit on the cleaner end. We'll just have to wait and see. Also have to think about this in the context of the cars starting at the back, because they just got out that very chaotic D main. They may have a bit of culture shock going on if this race runs green from the start of it through to the checkered.
Well, last race had a very different flavor than the E main. That was chaotic and yellow all over the track. 2 to go on the line as I race and do the 1 to go. I think I'm going to need to manually reset the software for every single race. I think it's that bad at handling session transitions. So you're just going to have to be very patient with me, Ron. You have to be very, very patient. We're going to get there eventually together.
We're all in this together, and that's the exact moment that this broadcast here on Maconi Entertainment gets copyright strike. That we managed to go through the first 40 minutes of the show, and then bang, that's when we do it to ourselves. We had to do it. We absolutely had to do it.
I mean, I didn't have to do it. I didn't have to do it. You
said that you didn't. It was yeah. It's a busy world. I come from a large family. The iRacing pace truck probably going to make that turn to come down pit lane here in a couple of moments' time. And then once we do, a reminder, folks, we do not run on iRacing green. We'll be running once these racers have one more lap to get their bearing straight, to get the field all situated throughout it from the front all the way down to the back. And then we can get this race up and rolling. More drivers making that transfer spot, and the black flag's taken care of there as well. If you see a P next to any of these racers' names, that doesn't mean they have to use the bathroom. That just means they picked up a penalty that has now been cleared by race control. Top 4 advancing into the B main coming up tonight here on Maconi Entertainment. The D was hectic. Let's see what the C has on offer, as it's going to be Brett Strickler and Zach Weinsfla starting this race up in the front as we are up, rolling, and ready to rock here for the C main. We are racing here at Knoxville yet again. That's Strickler again, off to a good one. Squabbling going on with Scott Thompson and Ernie Williams right behind, as well as these racers head down the backstretch, off into 3 and 4 for the first time under green here in the C main.
Incredibly low and patient line run by Brett Stickler up the top. Fewer drivers making it through this time around, and we're seeing a lot more patience throughout the field. Big gap opening up behind the 9 of Isaac Bowman, though. There's a fewer taken to the bottom already. It's pretty slick, but it's not as slick as it could be. Almost 3 wide down the exit with Scott Thompson and Zach Weisenfler.
Yeah, Scott Thompson and Zach Weisenfeld. I got all the names screwed up there. It was so close, and those two cars nearly merged together that I think I merged their names together. That was very tense stuff as they had their way out of 3 and 4 just 1 lap ago. They are still battling and squabbling up. This is a battle for third as it stands right now. Those two battling, but at the same time, it's a losing proposition, because as they continue to fight and continue to battle, the front 2 of Strickler and Williams beginning to pull away, and he also got the likes of Isaac Bowman and Jonathan Lowe right there to try and pounce on these racers to break their way up into those transfer spots.
Still being relentlessly clean all the way through so far, and Scott Thompson, though, he's under pressure. Isaac Bowman in the P5, and Jonathan Lowe also watching out. I think this time the driver to be able to run away a whole lot less effectively, and Bowman is under pressure here from the 8 of Scott Thompson. He has that advantageous high side. He's a little bit off the wall. Amazing exits you can get off that cushion here. This track has started to develop. Zach Weisenfish has to be feeling safe, but our first yellow of the race has come out. Looks like it's AJ Evansick.
Yeah, moment for Evan sick in that number 87 car. The car doesn't look too sick as he heads his way around 3 and 4. So not sure if there's any extracurricular drama there. A spin, any sort of wall contact, maybe popping up into the air. Very easy to do in these race cars as we take a look at him running up on the high side as he heads his way through 1 and 2. Looks good through there. Good for now. I think this was calm before the storm. Then things started to get a little bit hair-raising. Car going for the slide job down the inside. Pops him up into the wall. More contact being made with drivers arriving at the scene of that accident. And unfortunately there for AJ Evansnick, he ends up losing it. Drops down like a stone through the field. Now down 23rd as a result of this moment. That was a 9 car who went for that dive on him. The 9 was one of those racers that made it into the C main as a result of a good result in the D main that immediately preceded it. Going for a bit of a dive there, must be said. That was Brody Duscher, who's still probably a little bit upset with how things shook out at the end of that D main. He still made it through, but that was a race lead that he held on to for quite some time and just didn't work out at the last minute move.
Drivers are going to need to do a little bit more to get up this field, though, with 6 to go. It's very, very hectic around that cut line this time. Last race, we saw it sort of settle down around there and a gap be built behind. This time, it's pure pressure building every single lap. And if anyone was an enjoyer of how that race panned out, it was Zach Weisenfler. Huge gap built up behind. He had a great time just running his way around the track. But the yellow is the reset. We are all 1 to green for advance. Isaac Bowman is currently the driver on the cut. Or it should be, but when laps don't count on the yellow, it breaks timing software and my PC at the same time. I just need everybody to know this. iRacing was not built to do this. It was not whatsoever, because drivers in the pits suddenly get pushed back up to the top. Larry Moody had to take a pit stop early in this race, but everybody else still out on the track. Ernie Williams Jr. will be leading the cars to green.
I was wondering what that noise was. It sounded like there's a plane taking off right by your microphone, Howie. Now I know that it was your PC, but we are flying once again here at Knoxville. Ernie Williams leading us back to green. The number 91 car ripping it on the wall, up against it on the high side. Let's see how it's going to work out for him, trying to pull up that gap now. Brett Strickler and Zach Weisenfler trying to battle for P2 and P3. That's close quarter stuff. Isaac Bowman holds on to that transfer spot as it stands for now, but he's got a huge battle with himself in the 38 car. Dropping down like a stone thrown into a pond. Brett Strickler now really starting to struggle. If he loses out on some any more spots, he's got to find himself in the massive hornet's nest that's going on right behind. That battle for P5, absolute insanity. Because look at Scott Thomason. He's nearly up against the wall.
I'm surprised he kept that car in, pointed in one direction, but he's dropped like a rock now, miles off where he needs to be. Isaac Bowman holding off the drivers that were fighting. Kenny Hoffman wrecked off the back. Oh, not like that.
Whoa, what in the world just happened there? He's managed to park himself right by the campers there on the infield. I want to take a look at another replay of this. Things yet again going bad. Oh, what in the world happened there? And then here he is. Oh. Because I was about to say, what in the world? What sort of bunny strategy happened here with that one car? You can see the iRacing glue working together, fusing those 2 cars together, and pow, more contact being made. That's a huge moment regardless. But here's the one. It's that wall on the inside, and Monster trucks himself over. Things going from bad to worse for those racers that made their way into the C main from their results in the D main earlier on. First it happened to Brody, now it happens to one.
That was contact into the side of Joshua Pickle, who is one of the many drivers who has set an incorrect sim stamped number. And I'm just having to cope with and deal with as this race goes on, as I try and work out what happens in replays. Contact between the two, going to send them both towing to the pit lane and likely out of this Knoxville Nationals. It's only going to be 3 to go across the line. Ernie Williams Jr., Zach Weisenfler, Isaac Bowman, and Brett Strickler all done a pretty good job of holding on so far. But what have you noticed out of drivers like Zarfos, Huffman, and Stewart? I think there has been some aggressive pushing in the mid-pack this time. Drivers not willing to let this up, and with 1 to green, it's going to get explosive.
You know what I was going to say that I have noticed out of those racers is that there's a general lack of any sort of self-preservation. I mean, they're giving us a fantastic show to talk about, but man, they're throwing haymakers at each other to be sure. You can tell how badly these racers want to break their way out of this C main, move up into the B, and have a shot at a main event win later on tonight here on Maconi Entertainment. Looks like we're about to get them racked, stacked, and ready to go again here at Knoxville. That pace truck coming down pit lane, and we are back up to speed, back up to green flag racing here at Knoxville. With that 3 laps left to go, we got a side-by-side fight up in the front. Look at those two throwing haymakers at each other as they head their way through 1 and 2. That's Williams and Weisenfla really holding on to it. The one driver I want to keep my eyes on is a 38 of Brett Strickler. He dropped down like it was going out of style. He dropped down like an iceberg pushed out of a plane on that last restart, but he's now holding on to P5, so I'm not sure if it's going to work out for him. The white flag in the air for Ernie Williams to try and grab the win here in this heat. As we look at the battle with Strickler and Zafros, I think that may go the way of Strickler at the end of this race, and it looks like that will be the case, and things dropping down terribly right at the end there. So it'll be Brett Strickler finishing this race in 3rd. Jeremy Zafros will finish in 4th. None of those racers who made it into the C main gonna make it through into the B, so the streak ends for all of them.
A far cleaner race than the first time around. Let you get those unofficial championship results. Race results even. We'll make them that, and we'll show you the 4 that are due to make it. That is heat 1, so we'll try one more time, and this time I'll hit the button. Ernie Williams Jr., Zach Weisenfler, Brett Strickler, and Jeremy Zafros will make it into the B main, where the heat starts rising and the racing starts to get more intense. Isaac Bowman just missing the cut alongside Grain Huffman, Stephen Stewart, Jonathan Lowe, Scott Thompson, and Yancey Beasley. Drivers further back on the row: Taylor Wineland, Brandon Guys-White, Corey Denson, Nicholas Lau, Jeremy Childers, Kyle Sargent, AJ Evanzik, Zach Young, Tyler Benning, and Joshua Pickle. None of the drivers from the last race making it through to the second half of the event. We will have coverage of the back half of this event, including some interviews with drivers, and we'll be able to pad out some of that time, but also drivers have really got to do some work wearing in that track. So we're going to take a small break, and on the other side, see us in 5 to 10 minutes. We will be here to bring you the finales as we approach our epic A main at the end of the night. 1 minute ahead of schedule. We're back for the B and A main in the 7th annual DOB 360 Knoxville Nationals. And while we pass a little bit of time for drivers to wear in this track from its totally fresh condition, we're going to speak to a couple of drivers, including one team that has had a very, very special request. And I asked that they respect that this is a family show, but an entire team at once who are making their appearances throughout the evening want to make themselves known at the same time. So we need a few people. We need one Dakota Kern, then we have Jay-Z, then we need Andrew May, and we need Brett Strickler. Some people we were going to talk to anyway. So is this the entire Brent Mark Sim team?
I think you got most of them, at least the ones that are here. There's about
Sheridan over now.
Well,
yeah, we need Sheridan as well.
Oh, Michael Sheridan, make it a 5th. Can each of you just say hi and say where you are in these standings right now? One at a time.
I'm in last.
My name's Brett Strickler. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Mom.
You say we're in the standings? I'm the slowest car in the server right now.
Where were you in the remaining race? I know Brett Strickler's qualified to B main, but the rest of you, some of you new here to the stream.
We're all in the B main,
I'll be starting last in the B. I don't know if any of us qualified for the A.
I did.
Sheridan did.
12th in
Sheridan.
the
Sheridan.
The defending champ, by the way, Michael Sheridan.
Yes, sir.
Sheridan is our hero.
Very important question. Are any of you going to be sharing the track for one of these races together? And how badly are you going to throw a haymaker at each other?
Well,
Brett Strickler's going to kill me.
He's going to dive bomb and he's just going to wreck everybody. So that's an awful question to ask.
I've been notorious the last week or two for wrecking teammates.
Yeah, Brett Strickler's going to wipe out anybody with Brett Mark's Sim Team logo on it. Probably your right rear.
I might just wreck out any car that has 4 wheels on it, to be honest with you.
As of right now, I am marked safe from Brett Strickler.
Hurricane Brett coming through.
Been marked safe for 10 seconds.
And Ryan Smith isn't here to let us know his thoughts.
Through the grass. Ryan Smith through the grass.
How's the broadcast going so far tonight?
The best it can, I say. I'll say that caution laps not counting, great timing software. But other than that, it's been 2 very, very different races, 2 very, very different ones of unique character there. One absolute caution fest and one that was an absolute scramble for that 4th. Now, I hear that technically our defending champion. We've actually just not had several years of champions. I've got to say, Michael Sheridan, 2021 champion, technically the last champion here. It was an unexpected upset at the time. It's on your shoulders now, is it not?
Oh, I would say so. Just got to go out there and see what happens.
Sheridan's just going to go out there and he's going to dig.
Man, a few words.
Oh, I'm definitely going to be digging. I'm going to be digging to get to the front.
So how likely is a comeback from the bottom to the top? Because it totally failed so far from the D to the C. We saw nobody even really get out of that bottom position. But now you're going from C into B, and Brett Strickler, you've got a bit of a road to make it up.
Yeah, I don't know why you think I'm going to make up the road. I mean, but
he's got DK bumpers on that thing. He's going to plow everybody out of the way.
Yeah. You got shout out DK bumpers. We got some real strong chromoly on the front of this thing, best in the business. I'm probably just going to use up the bumper, I think.
And
this is going to be a caution fest.
And with the way the track has been changing, you've not had a terrible amount of green flag running at once across these races, which means that you've not really seen a giga cushion build up. So much longer races coming up down the line. How does Knoxville change up on a situation like this?
I think you're just going to have to get as much as you can on every restart, because I don't expect to pace or go more than 2-3 green flag laps at a time in the B main. I think people are going to be making stupid moves to try and qualify, and it's going to be short-lived.
It's a family show, but does anyone have any fighting words?
I got a white Ford out back. I'll meet you there.
It's going to be all about survival.
Yeah.
That's a Tyler Walker reference, in case you didn't catch that.
I'm too British. I'm too obscure. I'm too lost in the weeds there, unfortunately.
You need to Google some
American
Walker, man.
hero, Tyler Walker.
He partied with Tupac's brother back in the day.
Lived on Skid Row.
Like a week
90 days ago.
Ron, anything to throw at the team?
See, I was just going to say, I think Howie's too British for the reference, and I'm too out of the loop to get any references. I think that's all I can add to this.
No, I'll say this, guys. I don't know about firing up the team. These guys, I think we have a great team. Going to do a great job here. I think it's going to be very difficult to pass. I think it's going to be a wreck fest, and I think whoever can survive in those top 4 and not do anything dumb to take themselves out of it, because I'm not sure about how many people are going to come from the middle of this pack to the front. I just don't see it happening without mistake. So enjoy the yellow flags. You're going to have a lot to talk about.
I can promise you we might not make it to qualifying, but we're going to have the most fun. That's for sure.
That is
we definitely
right.
we have the most fun. Just ask Rick Main.
Rick Main.
Well, we're going to have about 5-10 minutes of running for A main drivers locked in. I'm going to leave the rest of you back into your wherever you guys talk. Wherever you guys talk, I wish you all the best of luck, and at the very least, have a good time on this crazy day.
You ought to bring Roberts in here.
Yeah, you don't bring Yapper in here.
Bring Yapper in here. He'll give you his opinion.
You're going back up one at a time, I'm afraid. I'm afraid the broadcast booth is making an executive decision.
Get him, contact Andy May and I.
There we go. Michael Sheridan, you're the last one.
That was a fever dream, and I love it.
That was a great experience. 2 shout-outs for this stream. The DOB League is brought to you by Dezine Metal Art. And this broadcast is brought to you by Aces Up Sim Sport. 2 sponsors, including one that managed to make this stream come live at the very, very last minute. Appreciate all the support. The A-Main drivers now warming up the track. And some names out, the drivers on the track right now. Look out for Andrew May, Dean Reynolds, Rick Main's out here, Aidan Stull in the pit lane, Ashton Mealer in the free car, Terry Schmidt, Austin Griff, Matt Kinkle, Daisy Schaff. Is that Daisy Schaff? Hazy? I don't know. I need to put your timing back on so that you can try and work this out. I'm going to go with Jay Schaff, Park Grannis, Richie Gaines, Michael Sheridan, as discussed earlier, Bowen Smith, Matt Grimm, Michael Sherring, Graham Huffman, David Schmill Jr., Tate Sander, Brian Cross, Dustin Sargent, Spencer Putney, Landon Cardoza, Ryan Scheidt, and Dan Grimshaw, all guaranteed into the A-Main right now after a lot of intense heat racing.
And you mentioned the fantastic sponsors that we've got for tonight's broadcast here on Maconi Entertainment. Do want to give a shout out those. We're still in the midst of this warm-up session, letting these racers rip around this track, get built up a little bit before we head off into the final 2 races of the evening. I want to give a quick shout out to the boss man himself, Mr. Jeff Maconi, who's going to be running in the ARCA race at Masson Speedway tomorrow. I believe that show is going to be on Fox. Unfortunately, with I think with both of our disgusting broadcasting schedules that way, I'm not sure if we'll be able to catch Jeff out there on the racetrack for that, but we wish him nothing but the best for that race coming up. See, I reminded myself of that fact because I was going to share the story of the fact that Jeff sent me in the invite to this Discord server at about 12:30 something early this morning. I woke up to it, and I say this as someone who used to take pride in having a good sleeping schedule but now has an absolutely horrendous one. I was thinking like, oh, what was he doing? Then I realized, oh yeah, he's got that ARCA race coming up, so that could be the reason why. But shout out to Jeff as well for running another ARCA race this upcoming weekend.
We'll have a chance to talk to more drivers, of course, after the end of the race. We'll also be talking to a special winner of a Hard Charger Award, a special prize and award given out by the league. So there's one of the drivers is able to make up the most places. Lots of wear going down on this track for the A-Main participants. As ever, as the admin likes to stress, they decide how this track feels. It gets reset after the C-Main, thanks to the wonderful limitation of iRacing, and instead we reset it and run a long practice for these B and A main drivers who are already starting to slick up the bottom of that racetrack. Knoxville, very, very long and very, very wide. We have 5 minutes to go until the 2 races of destiny.
the two races that are going to have the most amount of pressure as well, Howie. This is going to be real tough for these competitors. You got to worry about making your way into that main show. You got some racers who are looking to try and buck the trend that we've seen thus far tonight of nobody from the lower mains heading up into the higher ones. We saw nobody from that E main that we didn't get the opportunity to broadcast make it past the D main. We didn't see anybody from the D main make it into the C main and then make it up into the B main. So we'll have to see if anybody will be able to buck that trend here at the last opportunity to do so. That'd be a pretty good way to spend the night. But honestly, Howie, I'm just looking forward to this race that we have coming up here, getting longer in terms of the race length, getting more action-packed as well. We've had a bit of yellows to talk about up to this point in the evening as well, so I'm going to put you on the spot and ask whether or not we're going to see a bit more of yellow drama in this B main coming up.
As it heats up and up, as we get more and more drivers on the track, there's no way that we don't get just a little bit more, I think, out there on the track. So our B main race is going to be 18 laps, currently projecting 6 to advance, depending on if A main drivers don't show into their slots. Our A main will be a 30-lap feature. It's been a quick first half of the stream, but it's going to be a much longer, slower second one. Also, special free wide salute warm-up, of course, during the A main warm-up. We'll get there when we get there, as we're still watching just a few drivers out on the track really choosing to drive in the surface. It was a whole lot more, but I noticed less A main drivers than previously from that B main practice hitting the track. We're actually on board right now with Landon Cardoza as we check out the front of that car. I have tried driving. I can drive a 310. I can't drive something faster. Only a few minutes left to go. Like, I don't have the bravery. I've tried. I throw it in. It all goes terribly wrong. I'm about at my speed at a street stock.
See, my thing is, I absolutely adore running the 410, but I also say this as someone who used to run a shifter kart in real life, which, if anyone has never driven a 125cc shifter karts, whether it be a Honda or anything more powerful on that kart chassis, I could best describe that experience as essentially throwing yourself down a flight of stairs and landing next to a space heater. That's part of the reason why my back is basically bent like a question mark, and why I can no longer grow hair on certain parts of my right leg. But no, I absolutely adore those 410 sprint cars. I think I may just potentially be a masochist. That, or I just like insanely quick, stupidly quick cars that will basically turn you into a fine mesh paste if you even look into some of these corners the slightly wrong way. But honestly, I commend these 360 cars. They put on some good racing as well. I mean, I talked about this a little bit earlier on in this broadcast as well. The 410s, as much as they're insanely quick, the 360s and the 310s, they're not slouches either. It's not like you go into a lower down sprint car and you are basically putting your foot down and running around the track as if there's no sort of effort. No, these drivers are still absolutely hauling the mail, and you can see them sawing at the wheel as well. That is what makes dirt sprint car racing such a fine act, whether it be these winged sprint cars that we've got here, or whether it be the wingless ones. Wing sprints cars, you still have to wheel it through the turns, not nearly as much as a non-winged car, where you basically have to be at counter lock the whole time heading through some of these corners. But the wing sprint cars, they still have their own little finesse, and plus these things are just insanely quick as well.
Our starting grid starting to get ready for the next race. I'm going to bring this down to names. This is going to be a long and arduous process, but thankfully we have a lot of time. So you're just going to need to stick with me and make it through this one together. Starting on the front row is the 01 of Jesse Duckus next to the 227 of Colton Brewer. On the second row, it's the 12 car of Trey Schmidt next to the 49 of Jesse Bandy. On the next row, the 2 of Brandy Cornett will be lined up against the 95 of Dakota Kuhn. Behind, it's the 79 of Dean Reynolds, the 518 Oh, I love scoring for this. The 518 of Joseph Grandi, the 30 car of David Schmiel Jr. and the 111 car of Richie Gaines. I am just given a number less, and I just have to go digging for them. They're ahead of Andrew May in the 31. I've lost my way on the list. Then 31 of Andrew May next to the 83 of Brandon Dittmer. The 021 of Dylan Workman then sits next to the 57 of Austin Griffey. The 07 near the back of Michael Schuring lines up next to the 16 car of Jeremy Christensen. The 23 of Alex Sherinsky lines up next to Jacob Harris in the 10. Last 6 cars on the grid, Ernie Williams Jr. in the 91. The 20s drivers from the last race, 24 of Zach Weisenfler. The 38 car of Brett Stickler. The 19 of Jeremy Zafros. The 9 of Ernie Williams Jr. And on the back position on the track, Graham Huffman in the last place. Drivers now getting ready to hit the track and line themselves up. It's going to be a bit of a long pacing period as any. It's the top 6 confirmed that will make it through into the gate.
Yeah, and the squabbling for those top 6 spots, Howie, going to be, there's no other word to describe it. It's going to be a bloodbath. I have a feeling it's certainly going to be a bloodbath. We've seen the drama already gone down in the D and the C mains up to this point with those racers trying everything, throwing everything, including the kitchen sink at it to try and get some moves done to jump their way up into the transfer spots. As look at some racers, just some people in the area just looking at a wall there. I love the shots that we have inside the town. We can see the gas station, we can see the local hotel, we can see the rib shack there. Do not call that number, by the way. I'm not sure how well that would go over. But it is still going to be super, super fun for another race of what overall has been an absolutely brilliant night of racing action, must be said, Howie.
You call it a brilliant night as if we're even halfway through. Now it gets serious. The back half of the race, 18 laps on the road once all these drivers hit the grid. We've got our view on board the old pace truck. Ain't that a classic? And in case you ever want to catch any more racing action, Maconi Entertainment's got plenty, including full-length NASCAR series and a few extra special surprises all across the iRacing Canada. I'd like to thank Sim Sports for the opportunity to bring you this race on a very unexpected notice, let me tell you that, but we got it together. Drivers starting to hit the grid and get themselves pacing now to line up for our green.
And I think we're going to start to see these races begin to weave in a couple of moments' time, get some temperature built up into their cars. We haven't really talked about in terms of the track conditions for these racers here tonight. Looking pretty all right. 71 degrees Fahrenheit for the ambient, 73 for the track temperature. That's one thing about dirt racing is that, Howie, we have commentated many a NASCAR and a road course race as well, and sometimes over on that side of things we see some very high track temperatures. The two of us work together on the Top Split broadcast for the Strength of Field Formula 1600s here on Maconi Entertainment, and I think a little bit earlier on the season at Long Beach, we had 120 degrees Fahrenheit for the track temperature one time. That's insane stuff. So I'm not sure if it's that kind of I'm not really sure if it's that potentially skewing our perspective on it all, but track conditions looking pretty all right for these cars. Good temperatures also to produce a whole lot of horsepower in these 360 sprint cars, as we're keeping an eye on that iRacing pace truck. Going to stay out for one more lap. A reminder, folks, just tuning into this broadcast, once we see that pace truck come down pit lane, that marks one lap until we get this race up and rolling. So just a quick little reminder, if you see that pace truck and we don't really draw too much attention to it, that is because this field will get this second to last race of the evening started with the hands of our front row sitters. Howie, before we get this race up and rolling, I'll put you on the spot and ask whether or not these racers are going to give us even more cautions than we've seen out of the previous two races up to this one, or whether or not we're going to see these racers have a clean second to last race of the night.
as the talent rises throughout the night, so does some of the ego and the expectations, I dare say. I think this is only going to escalate and escalate as the night goes on. It's going to be a very, very long A main, let me tell you that. 1 to green. That's what the green flag means, you see. Welcome to this world of DOB. Jesse Duckus will lead on the front row alongside the 227 car of Colton Brewer on that front row. Green will be called as the drivers make their way down that final turn into the backstretch. We're going to get ready and rolling for 2 more races. 18 laps on the docket, rather than the usual that we've seen earlier, but we're going to have a much longer one. It's 1 on the line. Here we go.
And here we go. That truck coming down pit lanes, so we will not be getting it green now. We will be getting it green, though, in less than a minute's time. 18 laps of action here. Look forward to in the B main tonight here on Maconi Entertainment. If you're enjoying tonight's broadcast, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. Been absolutely fantastic to be a part of this broadcast up to this point here for the 7th annual DOB 360 Knoxville Nationals. It is championship night here. We're going to be crowning a winner come time for the end of this in about an hour's time. But for now, though, we have to figure out who's going to be in that championship race as we are green here for the B main. Pretty squirrely start for our front row sitter. That's the 01. Look at the stamp and setting it off down into turn number 1. That's Jesse Dawkins leading us as we head our way down the backstretch off into turn number 3 and 4 for the first time in this race. Still not a lot of time left to go. May not seem like too much. 18 laps around Knoxville can go by in the blink of an eye, and these racers not blinking yet as we're on lap 2 coming to 3.
Taking an eye on Joseph Grandy here, almost going into the side of that 22 on 21 on the bottom line, but he just about gets it out of the way. Top 3, holding it very, very close. Jesse Brandy, the gap wider behind. I think Trey Schmidt might decide to throw this one up the inside in a few laps' time. We've remained green and clean, pretty single file for now. And Jesse Brandy's got a comfortable gap on that transfer.
Yeah, that is a very comfortable margin between your top 4 and your P5 runner of, that is a big dropping back there. Not sure what in the world has gone on as it's now a yellow here, and that could be part of the reason why that car is not looking good at all. A big moment for your at 1 point transfer racers. That'll bring out the yellow. 15 laps left to go here in this race. Another lap, and not a lot on the laps already in this race before we had our first yellow, and may need to load up replay to figure out actually what caused this bit of drama in the first place.
I'm trying to make my software creak interaction. It's Joseph Grandy, by the way, who's had to stop into the pit lane. It is absolutely not interested in playing that game with me today. Let's give this a shot. Kicking into action. Here's Joseph Grandy's car.
Let's see him, as you can see, coming out of 1 and 2. Pretty smooth through there, pretty clean. Grandy was fighting for his life to remain in the playoff, not in the playoff spot, the transfer spots, but after that, it just went to hell in a handbasket, gets spun, and bang, massive hit into that outside wall. Grandy taking a sledgehammer hit into the outside wall of turn number 3. You can see it nearly ended for him, heading off through turn number 2. It nearly ended in disaster. Contact being made 3 wide action. That's a problem with moments like that. It's very conducive to have that happen here in the dirt racing scene with so many different racers running so many different lines. You're just bound to have something like that take place at some point.
I was car contact with, trying to check the spotter guide on that. Looks like car contact with Ernie Williams Jr., I believe, to make that happen. He's still stuck near the back of the grid after a run through the previous main, and that's our first caution of many. Caution that's not going to count. So as we roll around the track, we get back up very, very soon, and we will have 18 green flag laps no matter what. That can make these races really, really last if you're a driver up near that transfer. It's actually a transfer of 6. We'll fix that next time we're going to come around to it. It's Randy Cornett who marks the bottom of it as we go green again.
Yeah, back to green flag racing here at Knoxville, and as they try and battle for the spots to transfer into the A main, we're going to start to see these racers begin to throw more and more at it. Haymakers getting thrown, elbows getting thrown, and that's a car thrown onto its side. The yellow back out. That lasted very brief period of time, must be said, Howie.
That's Zach Weisenfer, another driver from the last heat getting into trouble off the wall, and that's going to lead to a big stack up. Weisenfer taking the worst brunt of that contact. Let's take a little look at that from the chopper cam, but this pretty much was on the back of wall contact. A few drivers behind inconvenienced along the way, but he took the brunt absolutely the worst. Big swing up the track from, I believe that's Jacob Harris in the 10 car. And that's one lost wing for Weisenfler to the back.
Yeah, so the streak continues on, the curse even continues on with racers not able to have a good night at all once they make it out of the lower mains, go up into the higher one, and they immediately get struck by a falling infield. That's far from the first time that has happened thus far here tonight, but it's going to neutralize this field. 14 laps left to go here in this B main tonight, as that's Strickler, as he got involved in some sort of drama here as well. That is very, very quick under yellow. Did he just blow everybody's doors off for the sake of doing that? Was there some sort of wave around that we weren't aware of? I think Brett Strickler's just decided to run at a regular-ish racing speed. I think maybe, a little bit of beef there potentially. I'm not too sure.
That's the 07 running. That's the 07 running, and Michael Schering just sort of gives him a bump, and I'm not sure what's gone on behind the scenes to cause that one, really, but both have had to run into the pits as a result. I did see two drivers get caught up as a result of that contact that started the yellow, and that did include that purple car, so maybe a strange form of retaliation being paid out.
Yeah, that... No, I'm not really sure what to make of that. We're back to racing here at Knoxville. Still your regular suspects up at the front, hoping again to some sort of groove. Jesse Dacus still leads over Colton Brewer in P2. Trey Schmidt in third. Jesse Brandy in fourth. It's Brady Cornett rounding out your top five with Dean Reynolds holding on to the final transfer spot as it stands right now. However, himself and Andrew May going to be involved in that battle. That's David Smeal dropping down in the number 27 machine. He hit the wall big time, and he's going to get spun around. Heading down into turns number 1 and 2, goes up against the wall. More drama going on. I think we remain green as it stands right now, but I think he's still stopped. Heading off through 1 and 2. No yellow in sight. No yellow in the air. We remain green here at Knoxville. Doc is still leading. However, that battle for the transfer spot really going to get intense unless Dean Reynolds can pull a huge gap to himself in the 31 of May.
Heard a call of not clear on the mic, and that led to that drop off. Managed to tie himself back off the track before cars passed. That was able to keep the race green. Andrew May looking to try and punch his way through, and the cushion is building near the top of the track. No one trying to make a shot at that bottom, though. Those track conditions haven't really evolved apart. Here comes Andrew May down the inside. I just don't see the speed developing right now. He's going to get alongside Dean Reynolds on entry. A little bit of contact pushes him up wide. He's not going as slow as I'd quite think, and he could end up clearing several more on exit. That's Andrew May up to 5th.
Yeah, so Andrew May turning up the wick and peaking at the right time with 8 laps left to go here. Make that 7.5 as they head their way down the back stretch. Jesse Dawkins now pulling a 3/4 of a second gap to himself and Colton Brewer. So things looking good for him at the front to punch his ticket into the A main with a battling right behind. Really going to be tense. Andrew May holds on to that final transfer spot as it stands right now. Less than 0.2 of a second back is Dean Reynolds. Ernie Williams also looking to break that curse that has been going on all throughout tonight. It was able to punch his way into this race, and he now wants to punch his way into the main show. Gets that move done. He's making some moves, cutting some shapes, now up to 7th as we're back under yellow.
It's Jeremy Zarfos on the top out of 2 that starts that yellow. And we'll keep an eye on quite what reset that, because that race was picking itself up. Oh, that is certainly not quite making the corner. Let's go back just a little bit more and try and work out what happened here. Running up high, Jeremy Zarfos. That's the 16 nearby, as well as the 21. Cuts under, and runs it hard into Jeremy Christensen's car there. Zarfos is the one that takes the brunt of the damage.
Yeah, that was an unfortunate moment, a blunt moment to be sure, as they head their way off into the turn. It's going to neutralize this field yet again. It's been another hectic one here for the B main tonight here on Maconi Entertainment, and happy to have all of you tuning into this broadcast here this evening. It's been a wild one, been a wacky one to be sure, but we have got ourselves a grandstand finish to look forward to, as much as Dawkins has still been able to run up to the front and pretty much just never looked back ever since the drop of the green flag. I still think that battle for the transfer spots is going to be the one to keep our eyes on. It's been fantastic up to this point, and you know, with how close they were and how evenly matched those racers are as well, would not be surprised at all, Howie, if that's what this race comes to being. It's probably just going to be a huge dogfight for P6.
Andrew May holds the P6 for now, ahead of Dean Reynolds and Ernie Williams Jr. As I watch every position on my grid flip one last time every time I try and make a call. This is an iRacing issue. Yep, I'm definitely correct on that. Andrew May held it well, pushed his way up to 4th, then lost momentum, ran slow a few too many times, and each of these yellows is going to keep resetting that track condition, is going to keep preventing that top from getting faster and faster and faster. It seems to keep changing the complexion. We're green one more time.
One more time, at least for now. Let's see how this restart goes. It's clean up at the front. Rather hectic a little bit farther behind. The battle for 5th, certainly intense between Brandy Cornet and Jesse Brandy. So Jesse Bandy, I should say, in the 2 and the 49 cars, respectively, as they still battle for the spots inside the top 5. Andrew May holds on to that last transfer spot as it stands at the present moment, but he's now on the bomb of 3-wide action with himself in the 49 and the 2 cars. They had their way off through 1 and 2, looking for any sort of cushion, any sort of time to gain, as that's the 2 with a huge moment. The 98 gonna pile in. It's a pile up coming through turn number 3. That'll bring out another yellow for sure. Yes, it will.
That all started with contact there that pushed the 2 down onto that big bump that's going to make you lose control of the car forevermore. On the high side, running it 3 wide, and little bit of oversteer, but keeps it back under control. Cost pace. Now there's not enough space in that gap, and it gets blocked off. It's that jump off the bottom, and that's just one driver caught in the way, I'm afraid. 2 drivers already been involved in incidents, but that time, I'm going to have to say, really was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Let's take a look on board. And this is a Cornet's on board view. Or a little gyro above it. It's this gap that just doesn't quite materialize. It is blocked off in time, and that's going to begin the downwards tumble.
Yeah, that again shows you. I think I raised this a little bit earlier on in this broadcast, Howie, but there's a lot of truth said in just how in these races, you lose a little bit of momentum, things are going to snowball for you from perfectly being in your control to being entirely out of it. Let's take a look at this from Jacob Harris's perspective in the number 10 machine. He was one of the drivers piled into this accident. Tough moment for him, and you can see contact being made with that inside, pile driving in, and bang, nothing he could have done, that 10 machine.
Head first into a brick wall. Jacob Harris's car is still rolling, thankfully. A few drivers had to make this stop down into pit lane. Drivers that haven't made it out of this race in good condition: Joseph Grandy, Dakota Kuhn, Zach Weisenfer, Richie Gaines, David Schmiel Jr., Brett Stickler, Jeremy Zarfos, Jeremy Christensen, Brady, I'm doing it. It's Brady Cornet, and Alex Sharinsky. Was Ernie Williams Jr. Just about. No, Ernie Williams Jr. is off the track. Jacob Harris in the pit lane. Dylan Workman in P12, a last driver, currently running Lots of beef and argument in the chat as it naturally starts to evolve as this race reaches its hot and spicy end. We've lost half the drivers, and we're going to free to go when it goes green. Still drivers talking through what happened, but we are 1 to green on the restart of this race. Now, half the surviving drivers are going to make it through. It's the top 6, led by Jesse Duckus in the 01 car. Dean Reynolds still looking to hold on to one of those all-important transfer places, while Brandon Dittmer's going to be trying to punch his way in that bright purple 83 that we've not seen much of today.
Yeah, I haven't seen that car up at the front, but here we go up at the front, that 01 booking it as we're back to racing. Been a hectic one up to this point. Let's see how it may go at the end of this. Still battling for that final transfer spot. Dean Reynolds holds on to it as it stands right now. A gap to himself and Brandon Dittmer, but we've still got just enough time for these racers to really start to risk it. Darkus holding on to that lead and trying to build it over Trey Schmidt with the white flag in the air. The battling on for those final podium spots and for those final transfer spots. Dean Reynolds and Jesse Bandy squabbling right now, but I don't think Brandon Dittmer going to be close enough to make a dent in that gap as they come across the line. That will be it. That's Jesse Bandy holding on to that final spot. Actually, no, I think Dean Reynolds may have gone the short end of the stick across the line. Bandy got it for P5, but that will be it for the B main. A hectic one here at Knoxville. Overall, a hectic evening of racing action. It's been good. It's been intense. It's been terrifying for some of these racers at times. And here's how it works at the end of the second to last race of the evening. The B main, Jesse Duckus, who really held on to command from the drop of the green through to the fall of the checker, wins it over Trey Schmidt in P2. Colin Brewer rounds out your podium in third. It'll be Andrew May in fourth, Jesse Bandy in fifth, Dean Reynolds in sixth. Brandon Dittmer's night ends with a P7 with Brandon Schuring right behind him, P8. Should be noted the final two racers who didn't make it into the upcoming heat. They will be alternatives for the heat that lies ahead, but I don't believe that will play a factor in it. As you can see, the rest of the racers as they line up with some other drivers falling out rather early on here, Howie.
And we're straight on to the one that really matters. It's our A main. 30 laps is a very, very long time compared to what we've had. We've only been up to a total of 16 so far, and we're about to double it and add more. Drivers doing a free wide salute before they get their way into order. 30 laps with all the cautions and all the trimmings, and now just a race win to compete for. There's no such thing as a transfer. Every single place is going to matter, and we'll get a starting grid as soon as we can. Drivers have struggled to make it from the bottom to the top today, so there's very few survivors out of some of the absolute biggest names on the track. It's been a real race of attrition, but some drivers worthy of note. Bowen Smith, notorious in the DOB League, never won at Knoxville. People are calling him unhappy along the way. Don't think Gunnar Harris even made it. Gunnar Harris did make it into the race. Gunnar Harris thinks he can make a double sweep this week. He's been talking up his capabilities. He's going to be on the grid to try and challenge for that. Our 2021 winner, our last defending winner, Michael Sheridan, is also still here. It was an unexpected upset at the time, but he's potentially in position to make it happen. Those are three of your drivers to watch on the grid, but now it's about the tangle for first. Now you make risks for every single place. This is what the whole day's been building up towards.
Oh, it has been building up to this ever since we got this broadcast up and rolling about 2 hours ago at this point. We knew that this was going to be what tonight would end in a brawl. A thrash, a bash, and a dash through to the fall of the checkered flag in that A main coming up. These racers, it should be known at this point in time, just doing a 3-wide salute to the fans of this series and the fans tuning into tonight's broadcast here on Maconi Entertainment. We once again like to thank the sponsors for making tonight's broadcast possible, including Aces Up Sim Sport for making this very last-minute show possible here on Maconi Entertainment this evening. But Howie, getting back to the point that you were mentioning, it's going to be a hectic one. These racers now in warm-up, the final calm before the ultimate storm, where there are bragging rights on the line.
Warm-up just coming to an end, and this is what the roar of those engines is going to be like. Very, very soon we're going to get your starting grid. As soon as we can, it's going to be a big and a long one to finish off the day. We have our numbers. Are you any good at getting these to names as well? Do you have that sort of data on your side? Because I've got a big number list, and it's always fun to try and chase them down after. I can sort them and you can't. That's really the big problem, isn't it?
Yeah, and plus I think the one benefit that you may have over me, Howie, is the fact that you have multiple monitors. I have one 27-inch long monitor, which is it makes my job a little bit difficult. It's, people ask me, how do you commentate with one microphone? One monitor, I should say. I think commentating with one microphone is rather easy to do because that's always what I've done. But no, commentating with one monitor, people have asked me how I can do that. Producing with one monitor is pretty tricky, but I think I will stall here for a little bit, and as we see these racers line up, I think we can now take a look at that starting grid.
So drivers are out of order right now, but they'll get themselves into place. Just trust the process. The 012 of Bowen Smith will start in P1 for our feature race alongside the 54 of Gunnar Harris. Two drivers notorious in the league. They're going to give us a chase down to the line. On the second row, it's the 187 of Rick Main alongside the 03 of Jay Schaff. I think I got the name right this time, let me tell you that. Brian Cross and Dan Grimshaw will line up on the next row next to the free car. Here we go, I got this. It's the free car of Aston Miller and Aidan Stahl in the 7th. The 17 car of Parker Annis lines up next to the 15th of Michael Sheridan. Then it's the 121 car of Landon Cardoza next to the 47 car of Matt Hinkle. Lining up right behind will be the 41 and the 42 together. It's Ryan Scheidt and Tayton Sander. Behind on the 22 car of Jason Nygaard lines up next to the 39 of Spencer Putney. Rounding up the back half of the grid now is the 25 of Matt Grimm next to the 39 of Spencer Putney. And I feel like I said that name as well named for already. Nah, it's Matt Grimm next to the 77 of Dustin Sargent. My memory doesn't fail me. Jesse Duckus lines up next to Trey Schmidt, going in some of our B main drivers. Now the 277 of Colton Brewer lines up next to the 31 of Andrew May. The 49 of Jess Brandy. I'm doing the Brandies again. On the back row next to Dean Reynolds. 30 laps, I think any sort of comebacks are possible around the track at this point, and now it's all for the win. Ron, how many haymakers are you pulling out on the track in conditions like these?
In an evening of racing action that has been as hectic as it has been here at Knoxville up to this point, I feel like the amount of haymakers I'm going to bring is surprisingly low. I'm going to wait for everybody else to bring them by the barrel full, bring them by the wheelbarrow full, bring them all in, throw them at each other, and then just be there to pick up the pieces. If you can make that work, you can be golden here in this race. Keep it clean, keep it calm, cool, and collected, and you can find yourself in an absolutely dream situation. The saying to finish first you have to finish. As much as I've seen that in fortune cookies before, I really feel like that is a saying that these racers have to have carved into their steering wheel heading off into this race. We've seen a lot of drama. These racers not very happy with each other. I have a distinct feeling in my head that the trend of yellows coming out a lot throughout tonight probably going to be the case again in this final race this evening. So if it were me, I would play the patient game. Or maybe that's a little bit of reverse psychology. Maybe that's what they would want me to do. Maybe I'll push the limit. No, if it were me, I would take it easy. Just be there at the end. Don't go for a ridiculous send. Don't go for a ridiculous dive. Just be there at the very end of this 30-lap long race. I think if you can do that, you are going to be smelling like a bed of roses.
Our drivers have their green, which means they're 1 to green. It's going to be Bowen Smith next to the 54 of Gunnar Harris on that front row. That's a pretty early time to fire out some fireworks, but I think any time is celebration time here at Knoxville to round out this day. It's 30 laps of the A main here on Maconi Entertainment. It gets going when Bowen Smith pulls the trigger. That's our official green. Big movement down there further back on the track. Noticing 3 to 4 wide, the 10 and the 01 coming together on the bottom. That's Jesse Duckus dropping miles back. Keeps the car pointed forwards. Still not quite. They have kept it together just for one. Bowen Smith enjoying the runaway. Gunnar Harris is still sitting there in P2, but Rick Main on the bottom holding up a few on the way through.
Yeah, and despite that drama on the first couple of laps, they've kept it clean for now. Keyword being for now. That is the key word and all that. As Aaron Early 4 wide coming at turn number 4. These racers are playing a dangerous game at the moment, aren't they, Howie? They are not walking around on eggshells. They are not walking around on thin ice. They are stomping at the moment. They are stomping proud, committed, and barefoot on eggshells that can cut their feet up like a piñata thrown straight into a wood chipper.
Jesse Schaff on the high line. Rick Main trying to challenge on the bottom. That top is fast right now, but all running just a little bit off the cushion as they try and get some more dirt up into it. Here comes Brian Cross on the inside. That's a 75 of Grimshaw flying up high, not quite getting the momentum down yet though. Gunnar Harris and Bowen Smith, they've run away into the sunset for now. It's a second between P1 and P3 on the road. And further behind, it's just quite a bit of chopping and chaining as drivers try and settle into their rhythm. Gunnar Harris with the fastest lap.
Yeah, Gunnar Harris gunning for that race lead, but at this point, I think he may decide to wait on it all. Wait for a yellow, which has now come out. That right there, that's a car slow on the back straightaway, trying to figure out the number on that race car who's going off the track. That's a 22 of Jason Nygaard. He's dropped down like a stone thrown into a pond. Must have been a moment through 1 and 2 to bring out the first yellow of this race with still 25 laps left.
In the A main, drivers are going to get 90 seconds to repair their car in the first half of the race, and I'm not really sure what bump actually kicked that off. Now, using the chase cam is usually a sin, but I think we need to investigate what just happened to his car. This could have been a bad case of the online racing jitters. It just about was, I think, the 77, and there's not even really contact there, but online racing is going to send him up into the air and straight off the track, resetting this race for the first time.
Yeah, that's unfortunate here on iRacing. I mean, the crew at iRacing doing an absolutely fantastic job with the sim, doing everything they do. I mean, it is not easy to get people from all different corners of the country, all different corners of the world, to be able to bring iRacing events and bring the action out there on the track. I don't know the amount of countries I've commentated drivers from. It has been quite a many places all across the U.S., all across the globe. I mean, hey, for this broadcast, for instance, Howie's from the UK, I'm from the US, I'm from the East Coast. So, hey, iRacing, absolutely fantastic, but a couple lines of code can make or break your event. Unfortunately, there breaks it for him, heading off through turn number 2. A little bit of netcode, as we would like to call it, a little bit of iRacing coding, not working out that way at all. But, you know, it's a quick yellow, it's a brief one, again, as it has usually been the case tonight. Yellow's not counting towards the race distance, so still 25 laps left to go, as I think we may begin them re-racked and up and rolling again here soon, Howie.
Bowen Smith in that pink 012 leads the line to restart this race here at Knoxville for our first caution. Running a little bit low, Gunnar Harris trying to make the mark up high. Still quite not the momentum going there, but when we see drivers start to change their lines, that's when it's really going to matter. You can just see how far Gunnar Harris is from the others. He already thinks there's something to get there as he wants to chase down for that win rather than settling for the transfers like in the previous round. We're 3 wide here for P4. It's Rick Main on the high side, Dan Grimshaw on the middle, and Brian Cross just backs out on the bottom side. Also the 3 of Jesse Schaff trying to run up top, but I think that middle is proving just a little bit faster right now.
Yeah, that's what it's looking like as it stands presently, but we still gotta wait to see how this track is going to develop. It may not seem like a whole lot of time, and that's because it really isn't. 30 laps here at Knoxville. It's not like 30 laps around the Nordschleife or something like that. These laps go quick. These racers are ripping around this racetrack, but it's still enough time for this track to develop. The conditions continue to change as we get farther and farther along in the evening. Track temperatures currently a little bit hotter than the last time we checked in on them at 74 Fahrenheit, with the ambient 1 degree lower at just 70. But as these racers continue to rip around this track and migrate that mud, that Iowa clay around this track, you are going to start to see some more lines come into the fold and some others begin to fall away. And staying on top of that can make or break your event.
The pattern as before, Bowen Smith and Gunnar Harris really running away from this pack. Now 1.5 seconds, but Gunnar Harris is absolutely not done here with Bowen Smith at all. Been running a very, very different line on that top half of the track behind. It's an absolute melee. Jace Schaff currently leads the road up on the high, but it seems to swap around every single turn as they're able to hold it 3 wide on the whole space of this half-mile dirt racing spectacle. You can see that a lot of this track is quite consistent in terms of its wear right now. There's a lot of shiny surface all around the back straights. We've not seen that legendary cushion start to develop. 4 wide, a row back. Rick Main leading the charge. They are running within absolute inches of each other right now and getting away with it.
Yeah, they are getting away with it for now. Keyword being for now. That is a dangerous game to play. If you play it for too long, it's not going to work out well. 16 laps left to go here in this race. Is looking them very, very close now, battling up in the front. Let's see how this is all going to work out with Bowen Smith in that 012 car. Been running up in the front all night long. Gunnar Harris trying to gun it on the high side, and you can see that car bouncing up and down like it was going out of style. Bucking Bronco through turns number 1 and 2. That 54 car hungry to try and get this move done. 15 laps left to go now. So these racers really starting to squabble up. Is that the squabble going wrong?
That's Rick Main's car on the top of Ryan Shates, but that wasn't even what threw out the yellow flag here that just came out. That looks like it's Andrew May's car that has just gone wrong. We totally missed that while checking in on another instance. It could have been a horrible accident. So let's see if we can work out what quite happened to the Andrew May machine here. Oh, it's tough into the wall. He was a real competitor and a real fighter earlier on in the show, but I think his show just about ends here. Here's Andrew May's view one more time.
Looking all right through there. Yeah, you can see if you get too close to the wall heading off through there, it is so bumpy up there. The track is just so rippled up. You hit that and there is nothing that you can do. These cars are tough. You just can't do that in these machines. If you do that enough times, it'll feel like you were on a bucking Bronco. As I said a couple of moments ago, you can see that moment going on, and Bandy, bang, he goes in, and huge moment.
SC Bandy's day is over entirely through an accident. The first of, not the first and probably not the last of the day. That was a very, very, very big green flag run, though, and drivers have been running closer than I've expected them to after the last heat. But everybody in the middle of the pack's been pretty close, and it's only taken small errors that have really kicked off these cautions. Bowen Smith's going to appreciate a chance for a hard reset on the race here. Gunnar Harris has been absolutely charging at him. Almost got it done, and the yellow basically saved his day. Dan Grimshaw hasn't even been able to come close on these runs to competing for this top 2.
Now that we get closer and closer to this race, we're basically at the same distance that C main was. I am starting to think if we're going to start to see these racers get even more risky, get even more desperate, for lack of a better term, will we see this race go back into the drama folds that we've seen earlier on? Let's just wait and see.
We are green again, going on iRacing screens, and the difference in lines, it's already couldn't be clearer. Gunnar Harris is just hugging that top like Kyle Larson. Jesse Schaff slower on the bottom as Dan Grimshaw cuts down to try and leave him about nearly as much space right up against the bump on that inside line. That's an easy clear. Brian Cross on the outside of Landon Cardoza now as well, who is really trying to get right behind Jesse Schaff. That outside line's starting to become fast. Dan Grimshaw clearing every single time on exit. We've got another car just a few back, giving it a try. Little bit of contact there between the 121 and the 03. Jesse Schaff ran up high. Now contact down low against Brian Cross. Cardoza's touch cars on both ends. And here comes, it's Ryan Scheidt up here on the top.
As we see that number 10 car there against the wall, we are starting to see those racers get more experimental with ripping that high side, ripping that in, trying to figure out if it can work, running the cushion. It's what they're doing at the moment. Up at the top side as a huge slide there from the 78 of Brian Cross. He was all sorts of crossed up coming out of that turn. He holds on to it. I'm not even sure if he knows how. Look at that 10 car running up there, monster trucking it on the high side, hitting those bumps like they're going out of style. Now into the single digits in terms of the laps left here in this race. Bone Smith still leading over Gunnar Harris. Not seeing that same spark of that 54 car that we saw earlier on. That would lead me to believe that he'll be able to give him a challenge if we run green to the end, but the battling still behind, certainly on the scary end.
Bowen Smith has failed to drop the lead since the start of this A main. Never won at Knoxville, but plenty of people in the league think he should have by now. Bad luck could strike him again, but right now it's been a faultless run, and Gunnar Harris hasn't even been able to come close. There's plenty of racing on this track we're not quite able to perfectly catch. That's not quite the right button for it, but here it is. Michael Sheridan running in P11 has been absolutely tangling here with Matt Grimm and Colton Brewer behind Rick Mayne and Jesse Schaff. Oh, Schaff dropping back plenty on that high side. Seems to have slowed down substantially over the last few laps, and just Rick Mayne leaves this giant gap to this battle for free. It's Cardoza. Had a little bit of contact throughout the track, but still holding it tight. Up front, Gunnar Harris. So I think he's going to try and take this pass anytime now. There's a little bit of contact. He sends Bowen Smith up and wide, but he holds it together, and we stay green with 5 to go.
I don't know how on earth they kept those cars going and kept them out of the wall, and they still have a gap to Cardoza in P3. That is insanity. That is about as sketchy of a moment as you can get. The only way you can get sketchier is if you're upside down or ripping against the wall sideways backwards with a wheel missing about 50 feet behind you. That may have been the last attempt, though, for Gunnar Harrison. We're coming up to the end of this race, too. 2 laps left to go at the line. Bone Smith still holds on to it, but Gunnar Harris, he's got that tenacity.
There's almost nothing left on this track to use. Gunnar Harris has tried hugging that top line, and it has failed him so far. Very, very bumpy. Now trying to get down to the bottom. Now trying to get under. There's almost no space to run it. Bowen Smith and Gunnar Harris, we were warned about them coming into this race that they'd be competitors, and one of them is now going across this line as the victor of the Knoxville. I think Bowen Smith has been able to hold it clean and tight. Very, very, very close after some contact, but an absolutely faultless win. He takes the checkered flag, and Bowen Smith is your Knoxville Nationals champion.
And he is going to burn it down in celebration. Bowen Smith had to hold on to dear life, had to defend a very hard challenge from that number 54 car right behind, and he's going to flip that thing over to its side, knock off the rear wing, but it doesn't matter. That car is victorious here tonight. Well done. What a race! What a race! What a night!
Don't even need a wing to celebrate here at Knoxville. That race flew by far quicker than we were expecting as he enters victory lane right now. I didn't even know that there was a working victory lane. Let's take another look at that almost slide job, almost disaster that changed the race for good here. Bowen Smith in P1, Gunnar Harris in P2. This was when we thought it was all going to change. Gunnar Harris just making that contact with the rear just another inch over, and that leads to absolute disaster. Instead, Bowen keeps it together. Gunnar tries it one last time, tries anything to win, but that was his last opportunity. Sending it in, call it a slide job, call it a push. Almost sends Bowen's car around, but it's not around, and that's all that matters.
He got the checkered flag. That's what he did. He got it. Hey, it has it right underneath the wing right there. Be patient. He was patient. His competitor wasn't. I gotta say that move there from the 54. I really think that did more harm than good, frankly.
So close to possibly a controversial talking point of the hour. Let me just put it like that. One more replay on board Gunnar Harris's car in the cockpit. That was remarkably fast, remarkably tight and close. He could have sent it up over the bump as well. Instead, both in one direction, and Bowen Smith holds on for dear life to take that win. We are going to be talking to some of these drivers, including hopefully our top two, in order to try and work out quite how that went down. But first of all, do we want to start going backwards or forwards?
I think we'll do backwards. I think we'll do 3, 2, 1. I think that'll be the order of the evening. Sound good to you, Howie?
Yeah, that means I'll take on Landon Cardoza then. Landon Cardoza, our P3 finisher, up at the front. That battling was unbelievable. You weren't quite able to take it, but you still had some racing yourself to do.
Well, not a bad night. It all just goes down. It's the Knoxville Nationals. If you can't qualify in your prelim night, you're gonna hurt for the rest of the week. Wasn't a bad night. Started 11th, and I don't know. I thought we were moving pretty good in the beginning. We made some quick passes up to like 7th or 8th, and just I think I stalled out a little too long. I got stuck racing like Rick Main, Brian Cross, a couple other guys, and was just never able to get going early enough. But when I saw Bowen and Gunnar getting to each other up front with like 5 or 4 to go, I thought it was going to be me after that. But just gotta do better on prelim nights. Really excited for next week, and yeah.
You were thrown 3 wide at some point, contact with both ends, keeping it together. How intense was your scrabble just to hold on to your podium position?
Oh, it was wild. Anytime with DOB, it's there's guys that you don't think are going to be good that magically will come and give you a run for your money. It's scary. This is one of the only leagues, especially in America, that don't run mirrors, so you don't know what's coming from behind you. So that could either work in your favor when you're coming from behind someone or opposite. So it's scary, especially moving through the pack like that on a track that kind of started out multiple lanes and just slowly got back down to the bottom and got a little frisky. But no, I'm very happy with the result, especially after the iffy prelim night I had. And hopefully get some good momentum going into the 410 Nationals next week.
Before we move on, after an epic race, do you have any other thank yous or shout outs?
Oh, just the normal people. Fusion Setup Shop, BBS, Colin Bocus, all the guys, Ethan Winter, everyone that helps me, Dustin, and just the normal, my mom, dad, my boss who lets me do this whenever I get done with work every day. And yeah, thanks for Chris and you guys for putting this deal on.
P3 Landon Cardoza, best of luck in the 410s. It was tough racing, and you did make an impact out there.
Thanks, man.
That was our P3 finisher, Landon Cardozo. Now we're going to be seeing two sides of the same coin, I think, as I'm going to leave you with Gunnar Harris.
And Gunnar Harris now joining us here on the broadcast booth. Gunnar, welcome in. P2 at the end of this race, but certainly wasn't because of a lack of effort. You gave it one a hell of a challenge coming out of turn number 4, a couple laps away from the checkered flag. How was that race out here tonight?
Sucks, man. You hate running second, but he did a great job, and I tried literally everything I could think of, and I just couldn't make enough speed up top. And I don't think there's anything else I could have done, but wreck them, and I wasn't trying to do that at all. But I was just trying to pressure him a little bit, and I did once, and then I got on the berm when he missed it because he was driving a pretty steady race. I'm sure he had a spotter, but you don't have a mirror, so I was trying to slaughter line on both ends, and I was just trying to get some speed up, and then he'd pull away, and I'd catch him back on the bottom, and then once I got into him a little bit, then he started driving a lot harder, and then I was waiting for a mistake there, and he missed it once, and I got on the berm. So, but I just tried everything I could there, and just wasn't enough.
Well, still certainly a good fight for you in this race, and he kept things interesting up at the front and gave us one fantastic battle to talk about here at Knoxville tonight. But before we let you go and celebrate that P2, we'll let you give any thanks or shout-outs.
Thanks, Chris, for putting on this deal, and we'll see you all for the 410s.
Sounds good, man. Good luck in that 410 race. Well done here in the 360s. And I got to say, again, well done on keeping things exciting up at the front. I certainly appreciate it as a commentator.
Thanks.
And that right there was our P2 finisher. Oh, I just realized I dragged the wrong guy out. That right there was our P2 finisher there of Gunnar Harris. Oh boy. I'll pass it off to you, Howie, because clearly my eyes are not working correctly. I'm dragging the wrong people out of the booth.
That means I can drag our race winner into the move. Bowen Smith, almost faultless, finally winning a Knoxville. But even though you led that was a very, very scary finish.
Oh my, yeah, I don't know how we survived. I am so thankful. This race kind of means a lot to me. I really love running these races, Dirty Old Bastards with Chris. And just finally winning a crown event. I am ecstatic. I'm shaking.
Well, plenty of other years haven't gone quite to plan, and this one, almost from top to bottom, led the entire time. When does it start to feel real as you're running around? Because your P2 driver definitely made sure that you weren't going to get complacent anytime soon.
It definitely didn't feel real till I crossed that checkered. I mean, it was anyone's race to win until I crossed that checkered. I knew I could make a mistake. I knew that maybe a bump and run could happen. You never know. And I was just worried the entire race for sure. I seen he was on me the entire time. I just tried to keep executing my line, keep making those laps, and somehow we made it. We made do.
Any hard feelings about that contact? Because that was close.
What's that?
Any hard feelings about that contact by the end?
Oh, no, definitely not. I mean, we got out of it. We both survived. I think that's a blessing in itself with iRacing and all of its voodoo magic in the pool with netcode and stuff. I think I'm not upset. I mean, I got a victory to be happy about.
And on the topic of the racing lines on the track, so Gunnar Harris really made up the gap to you by running the top, and then it just disappeared. You were very, very insistent on running the bottom as you did. How did you feel like that track evolved for you?
I just kind of knew going into this night that the bottom's where I wanted to be. I didn't want to be up top. I can't run the top here very well. I feel really confident running the bottom. As Chris was saying early on in like warm-ups and stuff, run the track where you want it to be run in. And so I spent every lap probably up top against that wall, just trying to make it worse for those guys that will want to run the top because I don't have the talent to do it.
And before we move on, any other thank yous or shout-outs after this win?
Definitely a shout out to you guys for the broadcast. The guy that made the broadcast happen, Chad Griggs. Everybody's been saying Aces Up Sin Sports. Same guy. Thanks for Chad Griggs for the spotting all night long. Definitely helped me out. Thank you, Chris, for the race, and Jesse Bandy, a good teammate of mine, as well.
An epic win. Best of luck on your chance for the double if you go for it with the 410s around the corner. Enjoy the win.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
That was our winner, Bowen Smith. And we're not quite done, Ron. I'm going to leave you with our hardest charger of the event. It was Colton Brewer who gained the most positions.
And Colton Brewer, our hard charger here tonight. Colton, welcome in the hard charger from this race here at Knoxville. Gun your way through the field like a hot knife through butter. How was it out there?
Man, it was good. Just trying to stay patient and just pick them off as I could and try not to get in any wrecks, and somehow managed to make it happen.
Yeah, worked out very well for you at the end of this race. I said right before we grabbed the green flag on this broadcast how remaining patient in this A main was probably going to be a recipe for success, and certainly had to remain patient as some drama was going on here. I want to ask you overall about the nerves throughout tonight, because, I mean, we saw a lot throughout tonight's broadcast. One thing goes wrong, and it could be a big moment for a lot of different racers. So how was it in terms of the nerves running in this event?
It was pretty good for first time running one of these kinds of deals, but you know, just trying to stay focused and hit my lines, and that's about it. I mean, I wouldn't say I was too nervous, just doing what I needed to do.
Yeah, you did what you needed to do, and you did it quite well, Colton. Well done in this race here tonight, grabbing that hard charger. And Howie, didn't you say that there was a little something for the hard charger as well? You can fact check me.
I don't know if it was just the nature of the award. Chris Roberts is here. You can actually fact check us live on the Air League admin. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, he can take his own hand and give him a pat on the back.
There we go. What a prize. What a prize. There you go. I mean, hey, we'll take that any day of the week, Colin. I'm sure you're quite happy about the performance here and looking forward to that 410 race coming up soon.
Yeah, for sure. Wasn't quite where I'd like to be in this one, but you know, we'll take it for the first time. No doubt.
Yeah, hard charger the first time. Let's see what you'll be able to do in those 410s in the not too far off future here in the DOB world. But Colton, we'll let you give any thanks or shout outs before we let you go.
Yeah, man. Thanks to you guys for putting this whole deal on. Appreciate it. And to all the other drivers too. It was a pretty clean race, and it's always appreciated. But yeah, hats off to you guys. I know this stuff probably takes a lot to organize and orchestrate, so really appreciate that.
You should give all those thanks to Chris Roberts, the series admin, and our my colleague on this broadcast and producer as well. Howie Burr is doing a wonderful job pulling double duty on this show. I just came in, set up my microphone, and yapped about race cars for the past 2 hours. But Colin, you drove him quite well. Well done on the hard charger, and looking forward to seeing you in that 410 race in the not too far off future, man.
Right on. I appreciate it. You guys have a good one.
You as well. That right there was our hard charger, Colton Brewer. Well done to him, and well done to all of these racers, Howie. What a night.
A long, dramatic one here on the road at Knoxville, but that's what Knoxville produces. It produces drama, it produces tension, and it produces some intense battles to the end. Came as quite a surprise to run this event on Maconi Entertainment. Thank you very much again to Aces Up Sim Sports for the sponsorship of the series, as well as the series sponsor, DZine Metal Art, who will always bring sponsorship to the entire DFB series. One of the largest dirt leagues in iRacing for their largest ever Knoxville Nationals. And there's more to come on their front. Not sure if we're bringing that to you on this channel, but make sure you stay tuned to Maconi Entertainment nonetheless for all sorts of exciting racing action. It's been a pleasure to bring this to you. I'm Howie Burrows alongside Ron Mons, thanking you very much for watching this special Maconi Entertainment broadcast.